I think the formula is simple. Colin Chapman would say, make it simple and add lightness.
And then a shit ton of power.
And then that's the John Hennessey part, and then a shit ton of power.
So welcome to a special edition of the Evo podcast. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that I'm not accompanied by my usual partners in crime. We're in Sealy in Texas at Hennessey Performance HQ, and we're joined by the man whose name is above the door, John Hennessey. Thanks for hosting us.
Great to have you guys here with us. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not my first visit here, but it's the first one in a long time. I came here probably back in 2013, was it?
Yeah, that's right.
Which the time has gone in a flash,
right.
And much has changed here. But the principal objectives of our visit this time around were, or are, and have been to experience the Venom F5 hypercar in two different environments. So we've been very fortunate to be the first guys allowed in the Revolution, which is the F5 with the downforce package and
Correct.
much more
Yep.
biased towards road and track use.
Yep.
And we also joined you guys for some pretty exciting high-speed testing, didn't we, in Florida?
We did do that, yes.
So maybe a good place to start with that would be to just bring our listeners and viewers
Sure.
up to speed with the F5 program, how that came about, and really what that's brought to Hennessey as a project.
Yeah, so if we go back, we finished the first experimental prototype during COVID, so that would have been at the end of 2020, and began testing that car in early to mid 2021, then began production of customer cars, started delivering customer cars in 22, and at that time our team was a bit smaller then, and so we kind of had to make a decision: do we want to chase speed records and try to challenge Bugatti, et cetera, Koenigsegg, whomever, or do we want to make happy customers, deliver great cars to clients? And so at that pivotal moment, 21, 22, we decided, let's just focus on taking care of our customers.
Yeah.
While also, as we continue to manufacture, deliver great cars for our clients, as all manufacturers, there's always there's this one thing we want to tweak. Can we get a little bit more out of this, right? And so we've been doing that. We have a mindset of continual improvement. And so we just delivered our 29th car to a client in Mexico City last week. Been building 8 to 11 cars per year, which is a good cadence for us.
Yeah.
And so I think we're at 45 orders. We're planning on doing 99 cars. So we're getting close to about the halfway point. And so again, delivered almost 30 cars over the last 3 years. And so as we, again, focused on the business, focused on the client, making sure that the client and the owner of the F5 has an amazing experience, not just the experience of driving the car, but the speccing process, the manufacturing process, the experiential things that they do with us to come visit the factory, go to a test at NASA, what have you. That's been paramount for us.
That's as big a part of the experience, isn't it, for those kinds of customers?
It's absolutely huge, and we see that with other manufacturers, Ferrari, et cetera. Everybody kind of for an American to get to go to Italy and experience Italy and go to the factory, that's a really cool thing. Well, same thing for our clients. They want to come to Texas, get the Texas experience. You've had some of that.
Absolutely.
And we've got our test tracker. We've got our little Fiorano out back here, and then when we get a little bit faster, we go to COTA for road course, or we go to the former space shuttle landing runway in Florida, which we'll talk about. And so, again, kind of as this process has evolved, we've gotten really good at, again, making sure that the clients just feel like they're part of the Hennessey family and that they have an experience that they just haven't gotten from other manufacturers. And again, Bugatti, Ferrari, Pagani, everyone
does it in their own way.
Everybody has their own way and everybody has their own process. But again, for us being really the only American manufacturer that's delivered hypercars at the volume that we've done, again, we feel like we have a very kind of a sense of obligation. Okay, Europe has been doing hypercars and supercars from the beginning. Okay, so what about these American guys? Well, so again, I think we take it very seriously. We take it as an opportunity, but it's at the same time somewhat of an obligation that we only have one chance to do this right. And so we feel like we've really checked those boxes, executed well, and based upon the feedback from our customers and our dealers, That's gone very, very well. At the same time, there is as much of a burning desire to go fast and prove where the F5 stands in the hierarchy of hypercars. And at the top of that that hill, at the top of that pyramid, the king of the hill is who's the fastest.
Yeah.
What car has the highest absolute top speed?
It's a very emotive
and that
metric,
has moved around a little bit. We go back to the Venom GT for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
We were at 270 miles an hour. We were a little bit faster than the Veyron Super Sport at the time. At some point, Koenigsegg comes along, beats our number. Then obviously Bugatti goes out and just shocks the world in 2019 with a 304.77 one-way direction. And for whatever reason, they chose not to run 2 directions. That's fine. That's the number that we want to beat. So again, passion for performance, passion for proving our performance, but passion for clients has come first.
Yeah.
But we have not forgotten. We have not stepped away from pushing the car to its absolute limit. So you got to see a little bit behind, as we call over here, a little bit inside baseball, kind of what we do. We feel like we're close. So, I mean, there's a lot of challenges in trying to have a car that can go over 300 miles an hour or potentially push 500 kilometers, so 310.7 miles per hour roughly.
It's a massive challenge.
It's massive, and it's really it's exponential. So for every 10 miles an hour you're trying to go faster, it's 100 times harder.
I was going to say, so the Venom GT, which was the car that I came to drive 10, 12 years ago, that did 270,
and
that was...
And still accelerating, but again, at the time, we're like, okay, we're a little bit faster, and that's all the room that we had to run with on that runway on that particular day.
But to pack in another, hopefully, 35, 40 miles an hour in the same... Because your constraint is the runway length, isn't it? Safe runway length.
And that's the other big thing. Okay, so developing the car, having the aerodynamics package, the suspension setup, ABS calibration, putting the power down, that's its own unique set of challenges. But the big challenge now, and the challenge even now from Mate Remont, who's running Bugatti, is where do you go? Airless Seine, okay, the 5.6 mile long straightaway at the Volkswagen Proving Grounds, they're not going to let me, or they're not even going to let Bugatti. I saw Mate at an event, I don't know, 6 months ago, and he says, no, Volkswagen won't even let him in there. So you're really now limited to where General Motors, Chevrolet took the ZR1. They went 233 at Papenburg, so ATP, which is in northern Germany. You have a 2.5 mile long straightaway connected with a fast bank turn. Right?
You get a...
And then over here, really, you've got NASA. You've got 3.2 miles long. We're looking at some options for longer. Now, Koenigsegg did a unique thing back when they beat the Venom GT record in maybe 2017. They went out and ran on that highway.
So they used a public road.
They just north of Vegas, from Vegas to the little town of Pahrump. I think it's Highway 160, and they were able to work with the Department of Transportation. They closed that road. It's a uphill, downhill, and it's windy out there. And so they had a 2A average of 277. I think they went 285 in one direction on a windy day.
It's a risky business, isn't it?
Yeah, where it's narrow and you have a cable dividing the highways, and you've got the chance that a deer, a coyote, a jackrabbit could decide to cross the road at the wrong time. We feel like that's probably more risk than we want to put our driver in that situation. So we like the runway because it's more of a controlled environment. It's wider. It's not as long. So that's really the challenge. So ultimately, if we're able to go out and run some speed north of 300, we're actually going to do that in a distance probably about half of what Bugatti had when they ran it at Air Seine with Volkswagen back in 2019. So again, we accept that. That's the way it is. And now it's a level playing field. Now Bugatti doesn't have that advantage because they're no longer owned by Volkswagen Group. So, we'll see how it plays out.
You've been chasing big speed for decades, haven't you? With the Viper. So my first exposure to a Hennessey built car was a 550 Venom Viper.
Back in the 90s, we're dating ourselves a little bit here.
Probably 30 years ago now.
Yeah.
And that was certainly to my mind, those were the cars that put Hennessey on the map internationally as much as anything. But I think it's well worth explaining where Hennessey is now, because just compared to a European mindset, the sheer numbers of cars that Hennessey Performance, and there's a distinction, isn't there, between Hennessey Performance and your special vehicles team and the Venom F5. So how does the business work with the tuning side that people maybe associate the name
so
with?
people, we started in 1991, so we've been modifying cars for 34 years. As we say, we make fast cars and trucks go faster. Look, that business, not too different than most local tuning shops, grew out of my passion for racing. And I would say probably 15 to 20 years in, we became a higher volume facility here out at our factory. We've been here since 2007, so 18 years. We were probably back in the day building 10, 15, 20 vehicles a month. I would say that our business made a significant pivot back in the 2009 timeframe. We built a Raptor. We branded it Velociraptor. Top Gear US had just come out on the History Channel. They called us up and they said, hey, we want to put Tanner Faust in one of your Velociraptors. We want to race against this Halo skydiver across the desert. And I remember when that came out on television, we had over 100 inquiries within an hour of that.
Wow.
And I think since that time, we've since modified more than 10,000 trucks. We've modified about 18,000 vehicles in total in 34 years.
Yeah.
But we really saw a real hockey stick, a real growth in our business. And I thought, gosh, I don't know why anybody would want to modify a truck, but okay, if they do, that's fine. No, look, and we love our modified trucks. So Velociraptor, Mammoth, you name it. We literally, the last 2 years, we built about 500, we've modified about 550 vehicles per year. The predominance of probably 400 of those would be trucks and SUVs.
Yeah, when I looked around the workshop this time compared to last time, and the blend is much more biased
right
towards
now
those
we
big
have
guns.
50 Suburbans, 20 Tahoes. We have about 250 vehicles on our campus right now here to be modified, and 80% of those are trucks or SUVs. So that the cool thing on that story is, and especially like with the Raptor and modifying, especially the Gen 2 Raptor. So from the Gen 2 Raptor, we modified so many Gen 2 Raptors from 2017 through 2020 that paid for the F5 program. Now, my wife would rather see that as in our retirement account, but we spent we spent 11 figures. So you can add up how many millions of dollars that is. But that was from the earnings that we made from modifying. And I've told this to Jim Farley at Ford. I said, look, Jim, I mean, by the way, the Raptor's been really good to us. Thanks for building that. And we built the F5 off of the money that we made modifying Raptors, and we still do.
That's really no different to Porsche when they did the Cayenne, and then that's enabled them to build GT3s and GT2s. That's
exactly right. So there's a real cool. So I put on my entrepreneur hat for just a moment. We have 3 distinct business units within the company. We have Hennessey Performance, Modified Cars, and this year, now that we have agreements with General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, where they are now sending vehicles to our factory that we can modify, then are distributed through dealers. And so we'll probably do 400 to 500 of those type of vehicles this year, and another 400 to 500 vehicles when somebody calls us up and I've got a Raptor, I've got a Mustang, what have you. And so that's our primary business. Now, F5 is part of Hennessey Special Vehicles, which, from a volume standpoint, we do 11 F5s and we do 500 to 1,000 modified vehicles. The revenue on both of those is fairly close, and the profitability from both are close. And then we also have Tuner School. So Tuner School is our technical school where we teach people how to modify cars, and we do hire a number of the students that come out of that program. I would say more than half of our technical staff that work in the factory have come out of Tuner School, and we have about 80 to 90 students a year come through that program. It's a full 14-week program. We have a beginner's class and we have an advanced tuning class, and we're actually getting ready to break ground. I'll give you a little bit of a news scoop. We haven't put the news on this yet, but we're getting ready to break ground on another 55,000 square feet of manufacturing space, just to this kind of in between our main factory and our racetrack. And then Tuner School, probably next year, will have its own dedicated space. We're also going to add, this is something I got from Horatio Pagani, who was in Italy back right before COVID. I went to go visit Pagani's factory to take a tour, and I paid my 55 euros back in 2019 or whatever it was. And I asked the young lady behind the desk, how many tours do you guys give? Oh, she said, well, this last year we gave about 20,000 tours.
Yeah, it's thousands, isn't it? Thousands.
So I'm like, I did some quick math. I'm like, that's over $1 million. That's like $1.2 million in euros. So anyway, we're going to get ready. We're going to have our own little heritage center with some of the crazy vehicles that I have from my personal collection and stuff that we built over the years. Because we have people, we're right here.
You're right on the I-10, aren't you?
Right on Interstate 10 and west of Houston, in between Austin and San Antonio. And we get people all day long want to come here for tours. We stopped doing it during COVID, and then we're just so busy we don't have time to do that. But we would like to resume that, and sure, we could probably make a few bucks giving tours and selling merchandise and things of that nature. Kind of be like, you come to Houston, well, what do? Well, you go to NAS and you go visit Hennessey.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So could you, because you've got there's another chapter to the F5 story,
Sure.
but if you just run people through the bare kind of stats and what the car's comprised of. So the heart of it is your Fury twin turbo V8 motor.
So the initial idea was just mid-engine, our own hypercar from the ground up. Gosh, we have over 6,000 unique parts. So the car's completely bespoke, as opposed to Venom GT, which was derived from the Lotus. So it's our own car, our own design. But at the heart of the beast has always been maximized power to weight ratio, much in the way that Carroll Shelby back with the Cobra, one of the biggest, most powerful engine and the lightest possible car. And so we have a curb weight of 2997 dry. We have 1,817 brake horsepower, which you've gotten to feel. And it's designed to be a package that all that power can be put down. And you say, well, how do you do that when it's rear-wheel drive? Well, we don't give F5 full power in first gear, so it progressively builds more power as you go. But by fourth gear, we're at the full 23 pounds of boost on the 85, 1,817 horsepower.
What's the torque figure?
Oh, gosh. We were just looking at that the other day. It's about 1,300 foot-pounds in that range. Yeah. But the way the engine is designed, it delivers that all at a higher RPM. And I think maybe as you drove the car, and you tell me, if we had moved that power curve down to 3,500 or 4,000, it would just blow the tires off.
It's an extraordinary, and I've never, clearly the headline numbers are like nothing else,
right.
but the way it delivers its performance, even though you feel the boost, it builds in much the way a naturally aspirated engine
very linear.
would. You can't get your head around the fact that there isn't really much in the way of traction intervention, or
right.
The car just puts it down and goes, which is.
And you have that, and again, aside from the I think it's just, again, when we drove the other day, I won't tell the listeners how fast we went on the highway, but we went pretty good. The sensory overload, the sound, the vibration, the smell, the sense of fear.
It grips you, doesn't it? You're like completely consumed by what you're...
Because however far off in the distance you're looking, momentarily you're going to be there.
Yeah, your whole world exists through that windscreen, doesn't it? That's all your attention is focused on.
Yeah, you just might be able to glance barely at what's going on the instrument panel, but it's just like to me. I've driven race cars, I've driven drag cars, I've driven 7-8 second drag cars, I've ridden fast horses, I've done some scary stuff in my career. Nothing compares. Yeah. And it's something that, again, I'm shamelessly trying to promote my car, but at the same time, I can't think of anything like that experience that I'll never get used to the F5. I just drove it once a day, once a week, once a month, every time I get in it, it's like a whole new, oh my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's something that in the world of a lot of amazing cars that are out there, I just don't know that there's anything that is quite as visceral. If I were kind of, dream car that, I've never experienced, but just from what I've read about it, when you read about Porsche 917K, it's something that has a 240 mile plus per hour Mulsanne straight capability. Yeah, I kind of feel like this is a 917 for the street. Yeah, that's unheard of.
A terrible name drop. I have driven a 917.
Have you? Well, tell me. How do they compare?
91730 I've driven, and there are similarities actually, but your car is so explosively quick. Like the 917 is enormously fast, but it's got such long gear ratios.
Okay.
That it's just like this massive band of elastic that's kind of firing you down the road. But it's not as like, it doesn't catch your breath like.
Okay, good.
All
right, good. We're in the realm. Okay, so that was again just something kind of like a dream of mine. I'm like,
but it's a good analogy. Yeah. It's a very good analogy.
Yeah.
And we're all used to having umpteen different driver selectable modes, aren't we? Yeah. Dynamic modes, and it's oh god, you're in the F5 and it's got this great kind of yoke steering wheel, and there's some switches and controls on the wheel.
Right.
And like the Manettino in a Ferrari, isn't
Yeah.
it? And you go from wet to sport.
Yep.
But the shift from sport to F5, I've never known one mode change makes such a difference. And it struck me in the car yesterday. It's like when you are at a drag race meeting, or you watch some footage on YouTube or something, and it's like the transition from when they switch a car from gasoline to nitro, and it just it's explosively powerful.
There's a reason for that. So in sport mode is the default setting when the car started. So like a lot of cars, it's in normal mode, and then you have to put it in a sport mode. So we kind of feel like, so that's capable of running on 91 octane. It makes a little over 1,250 horsepower, 91. Maybe 1,300 on 93, something like that. And then so when you go so sport mode is something that, again, traction control is there as long as it's not too cold, and as long as you got some heat in the tires, you can put that power down. From a second gear, you might get a whisper of wheel spin, but you'll go. There's a massive jump from sport to F5. And in the mid-range, we have it in road course setting. So for track driving, so you're at basically 12 pounds of boost of sport. You're at 23 in F5, and then in the mid-range, you're about 17, 18 pounds of boost. So you've got between 12, you're 1,200, 1,500, 1,800. So you have the ability to, depending on the mode that you're in. So it really kind of depends on who's driving the car.
Yeah,
I could put, anybody with any basic driving skills could go drive it in sport mode. Now, F5 mode, you better be careful.
You think twice before.
Because again, when we went out for a little rip on the highway the other day, there was a bit of traffic, maybe, I don't know, a quarter mile ahead of us, and just within seconds, we were on top of them.
Yeah.
So it's got massive brakes, and the brakes work very, very well. But F5 mode, if you've not, and I've told our clients, like, just gradually get to know the car, and we suggest that they come with David Donahue, our pro driver, one of our test drivers, to experience the car, but they don't always get a chance to do that. But you do, if you want to go straight to F5 mode, you might as well decide, well, I'm going to learn how to swim in the North Atlantic, because
it's crazy.
It's big boy territory.
It's crazy. We went to Hill Country, which is out towards Austin, which is a part of Texas I'd never been to before. But there's the space is not like Europe, but some of the roads have got that kind of flow.
Right.
And obviously, I tried F5.
Yeah, of course.
But I came, and it's nuts, but you come back to sport because it's so usable. But you have to check yourself, because I'm using 1,200 horsepower here in a very light car, but and
if you're on kind of a B road, that makes the most sense. I mean, if you've got 3 lanes wide of interstate out here in the front of the office, then that's what F5 mode is designed for.
And your vision for F5 was for it to not just be, obviously we are all fixating on 300 miles an hour plus, but you wanted the car to be a kind of multifaceted, multi-talented
That's a great
platform.
point. So, and that's something that I think when we introduced the car, it was all about the big numbers, the big speeds. And I think that some people maybe got the impression like, okay, well, that's fine, but
it suggests a one-dimensional
It probably
thing,
doesn't turn that great. It probably stops okay. I mean, I think maybe when somebody's thinking about something like Chiron's a beautiful car, it's very luxurious, but nobody's expecting it to go to the Nürburgring and lay down some sort of a number. And so we got a little further down the road, and again, the coupe and the roadster, they have decent downforce, but they're not. So unlike on the Revolution, we're like, okay, with a little bit more downforce, let's take it to Circuit of the Americas. We went to Circuit of the Americas last year, and I think at the time, there weren't very many other numbers that were out there. I think McLaren P1 had gone like a 215 or something like that years ago. And with a little bit of testing, we went out, I think we ran a 210.9.
Yeah.
And I think, again, cars hitting like 193 in the back straight, but it stops, it turns. So to your point, we really wanted to prove that F5 is really more of a decathlete. So in track and field, you got the 10 different disciplines within the decathlon. And I've got some relatives that are decathletes and pretty good at it. But typically, a decathlete is a well-rounded performer that can do many things well. But most decathletes have their one discipline that they're really good at, right? And so that would be, in the case of the F5, straight line, absolute speed, whether it's acceleration or VMAX.
But it's still world-class at everything else.
Yeah, exactly. And so, it's funny when we introduced we introduced F5 again back at the end of 2020. I think we had a chat with Harry Metcalf, and I think Harry had just driven, I don't know, a Ferrari F8 or something like that, and it was kind of in his mind. He was like, I don't know how you can, put 700 or 800 horsepower down on the road and 1,800 horsepower, but no, in the F5, I think again, if you're in F5 mode and you've got it revved out, if you're above $5,000, it's like you better be careful. That thing is an absolute missile. But again, I think as you've described, the elasticity of the power band and the usability and the predictability.
Yeah.
It's really from 2,000 to 5,000. It's very, I think not just usable, but drivable. It's from 5,000 to 8,000. It's kind of like a Mark IV Super with a big 100mm turbo. It's like you better be planted because you're taking off. The JATO rockets are getting ready to go.
It's another
world.
But I loved the feel of it in sport on the hill country roads. It's just such a pure experience, and the interior is really simple and stripped back and not humble exactly, but it's not trying to show off. It's just, but it's really functional. You get this amazing. The scuttle is so low at the front, and the front fenders come up really sharply, so you've got this amazing view, and it just steers so sharply and has so much traction and great brake feel and great brake response. And I think I think Brits and Europeans, to your point about us, we kind of own the supercar, hypercar space.
Absolutely.
I think we can be very guilty of being really quite sniffy about not invented here stuff. But much as I found with the Venom GT years ago, that car was genuinely great to drive, and it's a completely overlooked achievement.
I think the formula is simple. The formula to me is what was Sir Colin Chapman would say, make it simple and add lightness, something to that effect.
And then a shit ton of power.
and that's the John Hennessey part, and then a shit ton of power. So I think that, again, building a car that by its nature is light, and the steering is lighter, and the braking performance, and the less rotational mass, and then Carroll Shelby add lots of power. But I think it starts with just a simple, nimble package.
Yeah.
And again, back when we're doing the design work and doing all the engineering analysis, and coming up with this, again, the initial goal, the edict to the team was, this has to be the fastest production series car ever built, number one, and number two, it has to be beautiful, and the craftsmanship and the quality have to be at the same level of Pagani, Koenigsegg, Bugatti, what have you. But that was secondary. Performance was always number one. And as the first car came together and we started seeing how the herringbone of the carbon fiber weave down the middle of the car through multiple panels, you can put a plumb line, you can put a laser across it, and it aligns perfectly. So I think that the byproduct of chasing performance, chasing speed, has yielded this beautiful piece of jewelry that we never intended to be a piece of jewelry. It was we were never trying to build like a Pagani type of car that looks cool. We just wanted it to be fast. And the byproduct of, when you see a vent, when you see a louver, when you see a switch or the design of the steering wheel, everything in that car, every form follows function / performance.
Yeah, it does have a
the only distinctive thing about the look of the car that I asked the design team for, I said, look, give me a unique headlight design. I said the headlight to me is like the person's eyes. Yeah. And so they came up with the F shape, like on the Venom for the F5, the F shaped light. But that's the only thing. Every other opening, duct, shape is all designed for CFD, aero, downforce, minimal drag.
I mean, you've got some serious people involved now, haven't you? I think the beauty of we discussed this at NASA, didn't we? But as we've said, everyone is kind of rightly excited by the top speed figure that you're chasing, but that's just a prism that you're focusing your efforts and skills and imagination through, isn't it? Right. And that's drawn, a very impressive team of people with Brian Jones from Multimatic, and you're working with some very high level aerodynamicists, and so it's just pushing the program further and further and further, isn't it? Which has led you to the next step in the F5 story, hasn't it? Which is the evolution.
The evolution. So as we were talking about kind of initially building cars for clients, continuous improvement, over that period of time, we came up with an adaptive suspension, which as you toggle through the modes, it goes softer, stiffer, depending on what the intended use of the car is. Improved aero. We've had, again, these are things that we've known and wanted to do, but we've also had customers said, hey, look, can I get a softer suspension? My wife, I like the car on the track, or I like it stiff, but my wife wants something softer. So suspension, we now have a comfort seat. We now have a quieter exhaust. We now have an aero package for more downforce. We've had some clients say, hey, can I have more downforce for driving on a road course? And so and then also, this is also kind of funny. We've got a couple of clients that have talked about maybe wanting to do some sort of light endurance racing with their car. I'm like, well, this is not a race car. This is a road car. Oh, I know. But I just kind of maybe want to go out with my buddies and do 30 or 45 minutes, just keep going on the track. Yeah. I'm like, okay. And so kind of in the background, we've done we've just finished a wind tunnel test program. And so now we have an updated aero package, the adaptive suspension, the seats, the comfort seats, and the quieter exhaust. Those are options. But now we also, again, in the pursuit of having kind of a quasi-endurance engine, we found another 200 horsepower. So we've taken these items and we've packaged them together. And when you came with us to visit us at NASA the other day, we were testing our Venom F5 Evolution. Yeah. So not too different again from other manufacturers. Porsche goes from 992 to the .2. Yeah. So this is basically our ability of taking these continuous improvement programs over the last several years, merging them together in an overall package that our clients can now have as an option. Now, the Revolution that you drove has the updated suspension, so that's now a standard item in future F5 builds. But the Evolution for future, so if somebody wanted the additional horsepower, so we jumped from 1,817 to 2,031 horsepower. So we were already in the most powerful most powerful internal combustion engine. Now that's gone up by a couple of hundred horsepower.
Can you can say who your technical partner is with the engine?
Our technical partner is Ilmor. And so we started working with the folks from Ilmor about a year ago. We have a long relationship with Shell Pennzoil. Through that relationship, I've gotten to know Roger Penske and his organization. And Roger is a partner in Ilmor. They've been around a long time. They've built the majority of the 8,500 winning engines over the last 40 years.
Stunning record, haven't they? In Indy racing.
And so they've been a great partner. And so it's neat to kind of take what I believe is the most amazing hypercar I've ever experienced in the F5 and to continue to make that better. And again, again, we always want to continue to evolve and improve the process. But along the way, we've had customers like, hey, can I get a softer suspension? Hey, can I get a more comfortable seat? Hey, by the way, can I get more horsepower? Now, people ask for more horsepower, and I think maybe it's a bragging right. Some will use it, some may not use it, but it's look, if you're writing the check, you get to ask for it. We can give it to you.
The remarkable thing is, because I was driven the F5 Revolution and rode and drove the Evolution on the runway, and you can feel, because it's another 200 horsepower, it's even more ferocious, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But the spread of torque and the spread of power, it's earlier, bigger, sooner, isn't it?
That's
so
correct.
It never ends, does it?
But it really doesn't. Yeah. So for us, again, the strong desire to prove what does it do? What does it run? That's something that we're really eager, and we would be glad to share it with you, VMAX, and maybe some other things that we're working on. But we want to show people just really, really how fast is this car. We went to COTA, and again, set down a decent lap time. We think we go back to COTA and go quite a bit quicker. So there will also be an Evolution option for the Revolution. So the downforce car that you drove, that's not quite ready yet. So the Evolution it's by the time this is published, the news will be out. The Evolution update is available for anybody that orders one of the newer cars, as well as for the 30-ish cars that are out in existence. And we'll have communicated that to our clients. They'll know all about that by the time this gets published. So anyway, it's kind of a cool thing. It's just, again, we're Texas, we're American, we like to push the limits. We're not timid about our car. We want our clients and their friends to have, basically their own roller coaster ride sitting in their garage.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go to you go get in the amusement park and you just go find your favorite road or track and go have fun.
So I know these wouldn't be definitive numbers, but can you share any of the benchmark performance numbers that might blow people's minds to put it in perspective, just how quick this car is?
0 to 200 miles an hour in less than 10 seconds. So, if at some point it would be fun to line up with an F1 car. I think the F1 car probably gets us to about 200K. So maybe they're a little bit ahead of us at 124 mile an hour. But I think from that point to be on 200, we just walk away. And we have air conditioning. We have Apple CarPlay. You have a passenger.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, just the rate of acceleration. I think we did probably 230-ish with David on the runway, and it's just going and going. I was trying to read the numbers on the Race Logic display, and I was trying to do it in 10 mile an hour increments, and I just couldn't do it. I sounded like an auctioneer or something with the numbers. So it's going up in 20 mile an hour chunks as fast as you can read.
There was another very interesting data point that came out of that last NASA test under decel, under braking, and these are on road tires. So these are the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R tires. We had 1.8 Gs on decel.
Wow.
At about 150 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So again, there's some big numbers out there. There's some, Koenigsegg at 0 to 400 0. That's on our list. That's on our list. We're getting close.
You must enjoy that rivalry. I'm sure Christian enjoys the rivalry.
Christian, Mate, Winkleman when he was at Bugatti, and Durheimer before him have all become friends, and we get along great. And I think that they build amazing products, and it gives us great benchmarks to chase after. And at some point, we hope to prove that to be successful in laying down some good numbers and make those guys work to have to chase whatever we do. So I think that makes things more interesting for the enthusiasts. It makes things great for the consumer, the clients that want to buy these cars. And I think there was a big period of time where the whole world thought everything was going electric, and we're like, okay, what's going to happen? But again, there's some fast, amazing electric cars. I've got a Tesla Plaid. It's kind of my daily driver. But all along, I always felt like there's never going to be a replacement for internal combustion because you have the full sensory overload of all the senses. And in my Plaid, you have no sound and you have Gs, and that's it.
Yeah.
But in F5, you get that
is the thing,
vibration,
isn't it?
the gear shift, it's just...
And that's the ultimate expression of that feeling,
look at the market.
isn't it?
Look at the market, whether it's, what GMA is doing or, Pagani or others. Like, these aren't 2,000 horsepower cars. These are 600, 800 horsepower cars, but they're manuals and they're engaging and they're fun to drive and they're unique and they have a great story behind them.
So you're introducing a manual transmission to F5 as well, aren't you? Yes. Which is perhaps an I get the motivation, but the sheer performance of the car. I hope to drive on one day.
You will drive it.
To control that with a stick shift is going to be a totally different experience.
Again, I'm crazy, and I've got clients that are crazy along with me. So we've got a good local client named Louis Flory, and I don't know. Louis was. I won't say he was on the fence in an F5, but we knew he was serious about it, and we knew he had a number of manual cars. And we were planning on doing the manual anyway, and so I just mentioned to Lewis, I'm like, well, we're thinking about doing the manual. Would that interest you? It was like, I get 1,800 horsepower through a manual, like, and gated too. And he's like, so anyway, we sold several of those, and so that car, we're just over in the UK doing some development work on the gear, on the shift linkage and so forth. And so we'll introduce that car at Quail in August of this year.
And that isn't just a case of switching out one gearbox for the other, is you've had to make some massive changes to the tub.
It's we've had a few clients say, well, can I retrofit my existing F5? I'm like, no, you just need to buy a new car. It's a whole new deal. So there's a lot more than just a transmission change. Yeah, for sure.
So your prep for the record run continues. Have you got an idea of when you're hoping to make a first attempt?
You know, we actually, honestly, I was telling my kids this the other day. I'm tired of talking about it. I just want to do it. You know, but it's a big undertaking. And look, the safety of the car, and especially the safety of the driver, are paramount. So we had hoped to be in a position to run the car by the end of last year. Decided to slow things down a little bit. Did a little bit more wind tunnel testing. Again, when we had the Evolution on the runway the other day, we were doing some analysis on braking performance and kind of figuring out, like, okay, where do we need to be on the runway? So if we're at NASA, let's say, we've got 3.2 miles end to end. We've only got about 2.6 miles that we can accelerate, and then we have to use that last, you know, about a mile, less than a mile to slow the car down. So this year, let's just say this year, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
I think again, the venue is, where do we do it? So again, NASA is probably our best option at this point. If we had a little bit longer runway, that would be helpful. You know, if the guys at Volkswagen Group are listening and they want a lesson airless saying, I would definitely fly the car over to Germany, but I don't think that's happening, and that's okay. So again, we want to do it right. We want to continue to make sure that our customers are being taken care of, and we're building customer cars, which we're doing, and delivering customer cars. So, but we're really close, and we're really, as you saw, I'm really proud of our team. David Donahue, our chief test driver, has been amazing. John Hennessey, who was with GM forever before that, was our test driver before David. Brian, our head of engineering, who was chief engineer on Ford GT and AMG 1. Dr. Mark Hanford.
Yes.
The Hanford device is our chief aerodynamicist. The entire team at Ilmore and at Shell Pennzoil that have helped us on the powertrain.
That's a formidable crew, isn't it?
Formidable group of talent. So we're expecting to go fast. How fast, we'll see. But something north of 3 or 4.77, let's say. If we get to 500K or something north of 500K, that would be cool. So.
Well,
we'll see.
Wish you luck.
All right,
I look forward to having a phone call with you once you've got the record.
I will ring you up from wherever we might be.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, Dickie.
Hope you enjoyed that, everyone.
Cheers.
See you again soon. Bye.
Thanks.